The film opens with Kath and Max, a couple embarking on a seemingly peaceful retreat to a secluded cabin deep in the woods. The journey is long and the directions taxing, yet Max insists on the trip, though the true reason behind his urgency will soon come to light. Upon arrival, Kath notices another vehicle already parked outside, an unsettling discovery given that they had rented the cabin themselves. Moments later, a young man emerges, prompting Max to approach him reluctantly. The stranger claims that he and his girlfriend reserved the cabin online and had already paid in advance. Tension quickly escalates, voices rise, and Kath joins the dispute. With no alternative, Max pleads for just one night's stay, explaining that Kath is too exhausted to continue driving. The young man's girlfriend arrives shortly after, and though hesitant, she agrees to let them remain. Kath remains uneasy and suggests leaving, but Max persuades her to stay, reminding her of the many adventures she has already embraced. Against her instincts, she relents. The two couples settle inside, where the strangers introduce themselves as Greta and Al, a younger pair whose relationship appears to have lost its spark. Drinks are poured, conversations unfold, and Kath discloses a startling detail. She first met Max when he was her student, and their chemistry ignited from the very first class. Soon after, Max discovers a peculiar board game tucked away in the cabin. Entitled Pillow Talkers, the game is designed to rekindle intimacy between couples. Intrigued, they all agree to play. Yet this is no ordinary diversion. Each card demands increasingly intimate and unsettling acts. As the night progresses, Greta begins openly flirting with Max, and to Kath's dismay, he does not resist. Instead, he indulges in her advances, even playing along. Uncomfortable and drained from the long journey, Kath excuses herself and retires early. By morning, however, something is gravely wrong. Kath awakens alone. Max never returned to their room. She searches the cabin, only to find it deserted. Max, Greta, and Al are gone. Even their car has vanished, and the phone network is completely dead. Panicked, Kath rushes into the woods, desperate for answers. There she encounters Al, sobbing. Through tears, he reveals the truth: Greta has run off with Max. The man Kath had loved for nearly a year betrayed her overnight. Devastated, she drives home, unable to comprehend how everything unraveled so suddenly. A week passes. Though the pain lingers, Kath begins to cool down. In hindsight, perhaps the cracks were always present. Max craved danger and reckless adventure, while she longed for stability. Still, one haunting question remains: who was Greta, and why did Max abandon everything for her? Encouraged by a friend, Kath begins searching online. Yet Greta appears to be a ghost: no social media, no records, nothing that adds up. Shifting her focus, Kath turns her attention to the cabin itself. Desperate for clarity, she contacts the owner. A man named Nicholas Barlow answers, but he refuses to disclose guest information. Thinking quickly, Kath fabricates a story, claiming she only wished to return a book to Greta. Nicholas softens and offers to collect it himself. The following day, they meet at Kath's nursery. She confesses the truth, recounting everything about Max and Greta. Rather than dismissing her, Nicholas listens attentively. Later, at a cafe, he expresses sympathy for her ordeal but still declines to provide Greta's number. Instead, he proposes accompanying Kath to Greta's residence himself. During their conversation, a stranger suddenly recognizes Nicholas. It is revealed that Nicholas was once a pioneer in a biotech startup, so valuable that GlaxoSmithKline sought to purchase it for millions. Remarkably, Nicholas had declined the offer. Suspicious, isn't it? The film then shifts into a flashback, taking us back to a party at Kath's house where Max was in attendance. During the gathering, one of Kath's friends casually mentioned a conspiracy, hidden cult messages embedded in Spotify playlists, and warned how unsafe it was for children. Max eagerly joined the conversation, claiming he had stumbled upon it himself. According to him, Spotify had once led him to a shady warehouse where he purchased a rare set of records. That was Max in essence, always chasing danger, always hungry for risk. His obsession with collecting records only drew him deeper into peril. Later, while running errands, Max spotted Greta and Al arguing in a supermarket. Their edgy, underground style immediately made him suspect they might be connected to a cult. Intrigued, he struck up a conversation. Greta was drawn to his adventurous streak and soon invited him to one of their gatherings. Before long, Greta and Al escorted Max to their base, a bizarre hangout filled with heavy metal fanatics and eccentric strangers. Drinks flowed, and the questions grew increasingly unsettling. Are you 50? Are you vegan? Any cancer history in your family? Max didn't realize it at the time, but he was being evaluated. Eventually, Greta extended an invitation to something larger, a concert at the very same cabin. It was unlike anything Max had ever experienced, driven by heavy metal, ambient noise, and something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface. The next day, Nicholas and Kath stood outside Greta's address. On the way, Nicholas opened up about his past. His father had died from a rare genetic nerve disorder known as synaptic hypertrophy, a tragedy that struck just before Nicholas was about to finalize a major biotech deal. The loss forced him to reconsider his life, its meaning, its purpose, and how he might prevent others from suffering the same fate. From that moment, he dedicated himself entirely to research, determined to find a cure. Just then, Kath spotted Greta entering the building. Without hesitation, she and Nicholas followed. Kath instructed Nicholas to check upstairs while she searched elsewhere. Inside, she uncovered Greta's secret world. The base of an underground metal band, of which Greta was a member. When Greta noticed Kath, she offered an awkward apology for breaking up her relationship, though her tone was anything but sincere. Coldly, she hinted that Max had already chosen her and that whatever he had with Kath was finished. Then Greta's phone slipped from her hand. Kath picked it up, and her eyes froze on the screen. The wallpaper showed Greta smiling beside Max. The betrayal cut deep. Crushed and disrespected, Kath walked away. Outside, Nicholas comforted her, sharing his own heartbreak. At 36, his wife had left him, taking their son. The loss nearly destroyed him, but he eventually learned to accept reality and move forward. That was the very advice he offered Kath. Back at home, Kath burned Max's cap and letters, watching the flames erase what remained of him in her life. For the first time, she felt ready to move on. In the days that followed, she and Nicholas grew closer, meeting often. He spoke passionately about his research, particularly a new transfusion therapy he had been testing, experiments that, according to him, were already showing promising results. The film then cuts to another flashback inside the cabin. Greta and Al were waiting, but Al was nervous. He doubted Max would actually arrive, and whatever they were planning left him unsettled. When Max appeared with Kath, panic set in. Al wanted to abandon the plan, but Greta remained resolute. In private, Max confided in Greta about Kath, explaining he wanted to surprise her. Instead, Greta lured them deeper into the trap. The following morning, after Kath stormed out in heartbreak, Al rejoined Greta. Meanwhile, Max was nowhere to be seen, because he was locked inside a drum, sedated. The cult had only been a facade, their true plan was far darker. Back in the present, Kath visited Nicholas, bringing him an avocado tree as a gesture of gratitude. He welcomed her warmly, offered coffee, and the two shared a quiet moment. For the first time, a spark seemed to flicker between them. Later, when Nicholas stepped out to gather firewood, Kath's curiosity overcame her. While exploring his home, she stumbled upon a photograph that froze her in place, Nicholas standing beside Al. The truth struck her like ice, Al was Nicholas's son. Heart racing, Kath seized a set of keys and unlocked a sealed door. Inside, she discovered a hidden room filled with makeshift beds, tubes, and vials of medicine. Outside, in the woods, she noticed a strange container. The film flashes back once more, this time to Greta and Al inside Nicholas's house. Greta sat reading a medical report that left her shaken. Max was not merely a victim, he was a genetic match for transfusion. The horrifying truth became clear, Greta and Al had kidnapped him. When Nicholas discovered what they had done, he was furious, refusing to condone their actions. Al, however, defended himself, explaining that he had lived 23 years without his father and could not bear to lose him now. Because the disease was hereditary, Al was also at risk. Their twisted reasoning left Nicholas trapped. If the truth were ever exposed, all three would face prison. Meanwhile, Kath crept toward the container hidden in the woods. Using stolen keys, she unlocked it, and what she found nearly broke her. Inside lay Max, still alive but covered in surgical incisions, surrounded by blood bags siphoning from his body. Kath rushed to him, trying desperately to wake him. But he was too far gone, mumbling incoherently under the heavy haze of drugs. Suddenly, Nicholas, Al, and Greta stormed in. Nicholas attempted to calm the situation, reasoning with Kath. He admitted that Max was being used as the source of his transfusions, a desperate attempt to keep his condition under control. Then Greta revealed a devastating truth. Producing a medical document, she exposed Nicholas's deception. He never had a neurological disease. The transfusion therapy was not about survival, it was about vanity. Nicholas had been draining Max's blood to rejuvenate his own cells, terrified of aging and growing weak. Greta confessed she had gone along with it because she too craved eternal youth. Al was blindsided, he had truly believed his father was dying, and the revelation shattered him. Cornered, Nicholas apologized to his son, insisting the treatment would give them more time together, but the damage was irreparable. Greta, unmoved by sentiment, declared that Kath had seen too much and must be silenced. Thinking quickly, Kath appealed to Nicholas's fears. She confessed that she wanted the transfusion as well, admitting that dating young Max had been her way of clinging to youth and that the passage of time terrified her. Turning to Greta, she suggested that Greta should become her source instead. Since Greta was the youngest, Nicholas accepted Kath's plan and persuaded Al to support it. Greta pleaded with them to stop, but Al chose his father over her. Together, Nicholas and Al restrained and sedated Greta. In the chaos, Kath seized her chance. She freed Max and attempted to escape with him. But Max, still weak and heavily sedated, tore open his incisions. Blood poured uncontrollably, and before Kath could save him, he bled to death in front of her. Shattered, Kath fled the container alone, locking Greta, Nicholas, and Al inside. Covered in blood, she staggered back to her car, sat in silence, and then returned to Nicholas's house. Standing by the window, she gazed out at the cabin in the distance. That is where the film ends. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.